Welcome to the Weekend Spread. I'm your host, Bobby Howard. With me today, as always, we've got Jameson Maxwell, Ty Lee, and the captain himself, Bolton Blake. And folks, it we finally had a shakeup. The standings were a little stagnant, but we've got it going, and we have a new captain in the clubhouse. Blake takes the lead based off of his performance with the Pot of Greed. He is up 59-45. Jameson's second at 58-45. I sneak into third with 55-49, and Ty's bringing up the rear with 53-51. All things considered, really good records across the board, boys. But Blake, how are you feeling being top of the table?
UNLV was never a doubt, and that's what got me there. And I'm happy I chose that pick. I know Jameson and I were
Quit it.
we were following that game together, but it was never a doubt. It's great to be in first place, right where I belong. Career leader in the clubhouse when it comes to our records. That includes maybe even the dice year, which was out of my control. So gotta say, feeling good, feeling confident.
Well, that's good. I will say, by the way, have you finally recovered a little bit from that TCU Texas Tech game?
Nope. Eyes on the net. I don't think about the past right now. I'm only looking ahead, looking at Texas, our biggest test this year. That's all
Damn
my
coach
concentration
talk.
has been on this week. It really has been. I can't think about anything else. It sucks being an underdog this time. It sucks. That's been hard to wrap my mind around, but some good money line value. I'll be slamming that. So, not worried. A little worried about the game, but not worried about the value you're going to get with that money line. So.
There you go. There you go. Jameson, you have lost the lead for the first time in several weeks. It's because you haven't used your Pot of Greed yet. Are you thinking about breaking that out today, or how you feeling?
Nah. We'll see how the end of this slate ends up going. We'll see. Some lines have shifted that I wanted to pick for my wild card this week, so I'll see how the vibes are.
Fair enough. Fair enough. And speaking of vibes, Ty, you're sitting in the last. How are you feeling?
I had a legendarily bad last weekend. I mean, I got Bama wrong, Wake Forest wrong, Clemson wrong, Oklahoma State wrong, West Virginia, which I knew I was going out on a limb on that one, and then the painful OU being wrong. I really don't know. Last week, I felt like I didn't really know anything about college football. I mean, the Bama line, that one was, in retrospect, taking a 13.5 line, that was kind of goofy, but LSU, shocked the world, and Brian Kelly made Blake especially eat his words about not being able to win big games, especially when he just went for two. And then, I guess Wake, we all got burned on. And then Oklahoma State just got absolutely broken by TCU. They have not recovered. So I think hopefully I've sort of adjusted my expectations, and I'm hoping for a better week ahead. This is championship November, and the only thing that matters is not being last. So 4-6 was rough, but we are still all very tight to each other.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And, like you said, championship November, it's tight. And we're adding a little bit of a wrinkle today because, frankly, I really didn't want to pick North Carolina and Wake because it sounds like shit. It sounds like a bad line. I don't want to deal with it. So instead, we're breaking out something that we kind of did in the past. At least one of our members did. Random game generator. Blake used to do this when he back in the dice season. He would randomly generate his wild card. So all of us will have a randomly generated wild card in addition to our normal one. That's coming at the end of the line. So look, things are getting wild. It's getting fun. This is probably a 1 week only situation, but we'll see how it goes. But that happens at the end. So let's go ahead and dive into our picks. And we start with the Alabama Crimson Tide on the road in Oxford to take on the Ole Miss Rebels. This is a pretty significant game in the SEC West chase. The winner of this, hey, look, they're probably going to win the West if they win out and LSU trips up along the way. So it's a pretty big run here. Tide favored by 11.5. All lines, by the way, provided by our partners at DraftKings Sportsbook. Sign up with promo code TPPN and get started today. And hey, you don't even have to be in Oklahoma. You play daily fantasy. There's good stuff. So give that a try. Give that a try. But Tide favored by 11.5 here on the road in Oxford. Blake, Alabama has been uncharacteristically bad on the road. Do you think that slide will continue on the road at Vaught Hemingway Stadium?
It has me worried because, as Ty said last week, I was talking about Brian Kelly not being able to play in close games or in big games, but really, like, I came out of that and just thinking about how bad this Bama team is this year. And you did highlight it, Bobby. Like, over the last year or two, they've been uncharacteristically bad on the road. And really, Bryce Young is the only thing that's keeping this team together because their defense is and their receivers can't get open. So but then I look at the other side, Ole Miss. Ole Miss is one of those deceptive records that you see the record, you're like, oh, they must be having a great season, which they are, but they haven't beaten anybody. Like, Ole Miss has been so thankful that we are now into the month of November, and their best win is Kentucky, which for some reason the playoff committee keeps on shoving in the back, even though, like, Kentucky is the ultimate quality loss opponent, that they have so many quality losses, they keep on getting shoved back in these rankings, but I gotta take Alabama here. I know it's Alabama on the road. It scares me a little bit. Ole Miss, I feel like back to the Hugh Freeze days, can give Bama a challenge, but I just think this Ole Miss team hasn't been tested. And the only time they were was against LSU and got the crap kicked out of them. So give me Bama in the 11.5.
Gotcha. Jameson, who do you got?
Yeah, I really haven't been impressed at all with Ole Miss's defense this year. I got to watch a little bit of the Texas A&M game, and just things just looked ugly in that fourth quarter. Auburn giving up 34 points to Auburn's offense. I think Alabama will score enough points, but I think they're going to give up some points too. Expect a high-scoring game, but an Alabama 2-touchdown win.
Yeah, look, it worked for me last week, so I'm rolling with it again. Alabama just is not good on the road, especially against the spread. They make too many mistakes, too many turnovers, too many penalties, and this crowd's going to be going crazy. Not only that, but this might be one of the lowest consequence games that they've played in almost a decade. Anytime they have two losses, usually happens at the end of the season when they go on the road to Auburn or in the SEC championship. So they're usually never out of a college football playoff national championship type race this early. I'm really intrigued to see how they perform, how they roll out of bed for a game that, like I said, not that important to them in the long scheme of things. Even if they can win the SEC East, it's a long haul. I like Ole Miss to keep this thing close. I don't necessarily think Alabama loses again, but every road performance, Texas, Arkansas, until they got bailed out to, a bad Arkansas team. And then, like we saw with LSU, a straight up loss. So I'm just saying, I like Ole Miss to keep it close. So Rebels plus 11.5. Ty, who do you got?
Yeah, I think this one is, gosh, I don't know. This one should be very clear cut because, it's the Tide. But as we've seen this year, they are not what maybe they're used to being. The one thing that worries me, Bobby, when I'm looking at your pick, because I do like the idea of Bama winning double digits, but not necessarily covering. So 10, a touchdown and a field goal situation. But the thing that worries me about going on the Ole Miss side and why I'm going with Bama is one of the things that's really hurt Bama, one of the things that's really hurted them in their games that they have been sloppy in or lost, particularly the ones they've lost, has been a really good passing attack. And that's just not something that Ole Miss is really able to field at the level that the teams that have challenged Bama have. I mean, you can go back and look, was it 2 weeks ago, to Ole Miss LSU for an example of that. So I think the fact that Ole Miss is going to have to rely pretty heavily on their run to keep them in this game and to keep it close. I kind of like Bama's chances to cover this one. I've been burned by picking Bama. I'm not going to preemptively count this one because I don't want to lose, but I think I've been burned by picking Bama 4 times already this year. So you know what they say about the definition of insanity. Keep doing the same thing, expect a different result. So I'm going insane, and I am going to go with the Tide here, but low confidence in this one.
It's like that meme of the guy chipping away trying to get the diamonds. You're
Yeah,
right there.
I mean that's
Ty.
a
You're
fact.
right there.
That's 1,000% fact. Is if you do this, we don't recommend it having a gambling problem, but if you do use DraftKings, but yeah, it's a
God.
fact that 100% of gamblers that quit right before they hit big. So I'm not going to quit. I'm going to roll with the tide, and we will hit big.
Well, yeah, not only that, but if you quit, then there's no way you can win it back. So there you go. That's not ideal. But anyways, let's move on to our next game. We have a delightful game on the slate. Honestly, probably should have been College Game Day. UCF traveling to Yulman Stadium, New Orleans, to take on the Tulane Green Wave, who are favored by 1.5. This line opened at a pick 'em. The Wave favored by 1.5 right now, though. So, Ty, who do you got here? Knights or water?
So I mean, UCF has been UC. So I've been a traditional hater of UCF because I hate what they do. I hate the idea that you can exist within this system that we have all acknowledged that we're going to abide by the rules within, and then just unilaterally declare that you're the champion of it in spite of not participating in the system. And I had some jokes on this that I don't think are great for the podcast just because I feel like they might be kind of divisive either way. But there's some very
Oh,
low hanging fruit
ooh.
jokes
Ooh.
there. But I gotta go with Tulane here. I've seen them more than I've seen UCF because they played obviously Kansas State, and I love the branding. And I'm just a known UCF hater because they are not national champion. You can't just unilaterally declare yourself a national champion if you didn't even go to the playoffs. Like that's ridiculous. Next thing you know, Oklahoma State's going to claim that they won one in 1945, which is absurd because the Army team of 1945 is one of the greatest college football teams of all time. So that's just that, like it's so ridiculous to claim a national championship, especially when there's a system. Give me Tulane. I think this one has high upset potential, but I like the Wave.
Yeah, I like Tulane as well. I feel like they have just a really solid energy going about their program right now. Uh, First time they've been ranked since 1998. They're truly on a roll, and I think they're going to make a New Year's Six bowl, and I just like that energy. So give me the Green Wave here, -1.5 at home.
I'm going to zag. I'm going to go with UCF here. And Tulane, a lot of what their resume is that Kansas State win. And it was quite true that Kansas State was really overlooking them. It came out that all they were caring about is that next week of Oklahoma win. And really since then, as I look at Tulane's schedule and the way they played, I'm like, is there anything eye-popping to me? It's hard for me to get behind. UCF, I got to see more of their games in person. I watched I guess not in person, on the TV, Cincinnati game. I was impressed what they had. John Reese Plumlee not playing last week. They still got a W, coming back probably this week from concussion. I'm going to pick UCF.
Blake?
I'm gonna join Jameson. I think the Knights are just too tested, and seeing this line 1.5 with Tulane's biggest game on the line, you could tell which team Vegas likes more. They like UCF. If this is played on a neutral spot, they are the ones favored. And although I've had some really just watching UCF is one of the most frustrating experiences, just because they make so many dumb mistakes. John Reese Plumlee cannot throw the ball to save his life, and it can be frustrating at times, but they're dynamic. I like their win against Cincinnati, even without John Reese Plumlee still being able to fight in that game. I really like the backup. He can sling it a little bit more, which gives me I like that for the future, but I'm just gonna zag with Jameson as well. Give me the Knights.
Fair enough. Moving on to our next game. It's the number 25 ranked Washington Huskies on the road at Autzen Stadium to take on the Oregon Ducks. Ty's Oregon Ducks, as he would call them, the Duckies. He's made a winning off them. Can't go with a wild card this time though, so sorry about that. Oregon favored by 13.5 at home against the Huskies. So Blake, who do you like in this one?
I think this one is easy. I think Bo Nix Heisman race could be a thing this year, could it? If they run the
Oh,
table,
baby.
Bo Nix is cooking in the Pac-12 right now, and the one thing I do know about Bo Nix is he's cooking right now, and he's really good at home. He struggles on the road, but really good at home. So I like the spot here against Michael Penix Jr. visiting. I know Michael Penix Jr. has put up, I think he's leading in like yards or something like that. He actually leads a quarterback category that's not interceptions or injuries. So congrats to him, but I really like this Oregon team. I think they're way more well-rounded. Honestly, like, it sucks for them that they got blown out by Georgia, because that gives them a measuring stick versus kind of the national stage. Kind of takes the allure out of it, but they've just kind of been pumping teams in the Pac-12. They're really solid. I like Dan Lanning and like what he's building there. So give me the Ducks.
Jameson?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Blake and Ty on this one. I'm going to pick Oregon. Ty's nodding his head because we already know it's coming. Ty's like, damn, I can't pick this as my wild card. What am I going to do?
This was my wild card.
13.5 points. Oregon's been playing really good. You want to say stock up? Oregon. You want to say stock down? Washington. They just haven't looked that good recently. You know, the Friday game last week versus Oregon State was a little bit muddy and ugly. The week before that, only beat Cal by a touchdown. I'm going to go with momentum here in Oregon at home too. Give me 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, the Ducks are just absolutely rolling at home. You got the good Bo Nix experience. So, you know, until they go on the road, I'm riding with the Ducks as well. 13.5 feels like an easy spread to me. Washington also just not really the same on the road as well. So Oregon all the way, minus 13.5. Ty, I think we already know where you're going to go.
Yeah, I like the Ducks. I mean, I picked the Ducks as my wild card last week when they had a 31.5 line. Was against Colorado, but they covered by 34-35, I believe. So, yeah, I like the Ducks. They have, ever since they really got their teeth kicked in the opener against Georgia, they have just come out, been swinging and been gunning for revenge against everyone that they've played. The Ducks are on a tear, and you see it reflected in the playoff committee. I think, weirdly enough, not to dive into that whole can of worms, but I think Oregon might be the most accurately rated or accurately ranked team within the CFP besides number 1 Georgia. I really like where they're sitting. And then, yeah, the only thing to talk about in this game really is just the battle of transfer quarterbacks. Bo Nix, like we talked about, from Auburn originally, and then Michael Penix Jr. From Indiana, which just cracks me up every time. You know, I don't want to make fun of it, but his name is Mike Penix. That's like the joke where, like, you call a place and make them ask for like Mike Penix, or like you call in like, I have an order from Mike Penix. Like, that's just,
yeah,
it's funny.
That name is funny. The name is funny because it sounds like a former vice president. Clearly, that's the reason why it's funny.
I just have Borat's voice.
Oh.
Borat doing. That's every single time I hear it, I just think of Borat calling him out in the whatever that can whatever the way he's at whenever he was trying to spoof him.
That whatever that convention was.
Great description. Yeah,
funny.
Borat.
I obviously was lost of words. People know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Anyways, all in for the Ducks. Ty, I believe you're 3-0 picking them as your wild card. So
the Lee Corso of the podcast, Ty.
He loves some Ducks.
Well, I actually like them as a team. But
they're enjoyable.
Well, Lee Corso loves the Ducks. Every
Yeah.
single time he sees the Ducks, he wants to put the head on.
Yeah, he told the Duck completely genuinely, "I love you." Like, I felt the love there in that moment on game day.
We should do a segment on funniest things Lee Corso has said.
Well,
yes,
he's missing right now. We might need to tread lightly.
We're gonna lose our sponsorship either way. So. Anyways,
and tied to the next one.
Ty, let's move on to the next game. We're moving on to the Big 12 part of the slate. It's the Iowa State Cyclones, road favorites by 1 on the road, taking on the Oklahoma State Cowboys in Stillwater. The Pokes have been in an absolute meltdown the past 2 weeks. 2-game losing streak, both to Kansas teams. But look, they're at the sanctity of home, Eskimo Joe's original hideaway. just to skip away. Will they do better? Look, last time we saw them, they beat Texas. Ty, do you think Vegas is wrong to underestimate the Pokes at home?
I am going to go out, I think, on an island. I think I will be on island on this one. I think it's gonna be a cold take at the end of the weekend when we see the final score. I like the Cowboys +1 in this one. I think Mike Gundy is a very solid coach. Unless it's just completely broken this year, like the Tide at this point, he gets his people fired up. And then we saw just Iowa State having just an asthmatic offense. Like they just can't put up points on people. I think Oklahoma State coming back to Stillwater, they've had just 2 crushing losses, although we did see a little bit of life maybe in the last one. At least they weren't shut out. I think the Cowboys can carry this one. So I think, risky. I think you guys might disagree. I know we have some Iowa State sympathizers, but Mike Gundy is a better coach than Pete Campbell, whatever his name is. So give me the Cowboys +1.
You're not going to be on an island because I also like Oklahoma State here. I think they're a different team at home. Iowa State, I know they beat the crap out of West Virginia last week, but I'm still not riding on them. I still don't like them all that much. I think the Cowboys, even with Spencer Sanders out, I think they find a way to get a win here. Iowa State's just too one-dimensional. I think they can scrap out a way to get a win. That's I think they're too good to lose 3 straight, especially at home. So give me the Pokes to win this game. Maybe get like a smidgen of momentum into Bedlam next week. Jameson?
Yeah, I really hope the Cowboys win this game. I don't want the Pokes to come into Bedlam just really down in the dirt, because that's just not a recipe that we want as OU fans either, because just 2 fans coming into a huge rivalry just feeling like crap. Gross. I'm going to pick with my heart. Hope Oklahoma State can pick this one. Garrett Rangel at least started to do a little bit better as the game progressed because, man, that first couple of drives, bad. Threw in 3 interceptions. I think were all of them in the first half. Bad either way. I'm going to say they bounce back a little bit, but I ain't confident in it at all.
Yeah, I agree. Thankfully, it's only not they're dogs. Thankfully, so I like it. Blake, who do you like here?
I gotta continue the narrative. I'm going Island Boy on this one. It's Iowa State. Iowa State, the best defense in the Big 12. The only unit on that field that, look at the scores of their games. They keep everybody significantly below their season totals. They play these weird, close, sloppy games. They just don't have an offense. But I don't think OSU has much of an offense right now. OSU definitely doesn't have a defense. Like, OSU is probably 8th, 9th, 10th in defense this year in the Big 12. They're just allowing everybody to score right now. When Vegas trickles out those weird lines you wouldn't expect. One Big 12 win, Iowa State coming into Stillwater to be a favorite, but I like that. That's weird. I like those weird lines. Give me Iowa State, Matt Campbell turning it around, maybe get them to bowl eligibility.
All right. Hey, that could be a pretty big Island Boy situation for you, Blake, as we go down the stretch. It's a narrow gap. So anyways, let's move on to our next game. The Kansas State Wildcats travel to Lubbock to take on Cactus Gang and the Texas Tech Red Raiders, who are favored by Tree City.
Kansas Jayhawks, not
Kansas Jayhawks. My bad, not Kansas State. Sorry, the Kansas Jayhawks. Golly, traveling to Tech to take on the Red Raiders. I got so excited about Cactus Gang that I forgot which Kansas they're playing. Jesus. Blake, who do you like in this one?
Daniels being back, gotta go with Kansas. There's nothing to look forward to now in Tech. Can't even beat your rival, and really just had a disappointing season. Things not looking good in Lubbock, I will say that. Things are looking good in Kansas. 6 wins, we're going bowl eligible. The best clip I saw was the Kansas security team after the game rounding up in the end zone where the goalpost was missing, and the head of security said, well, shit happens. We lost the goalpost. And that made me so happy. I love the Kansas story this year. I'm glad that Daniels is back, playing behind them, get some of that momentum. I think Kansas has the better offense. Both these defenses kind of suck, so give it to the better offense. I don't think Tech has much of a home field advantage, so makes it easy. Give me Kansas.
Jameson?
I don't know. This is tough for me. I wanted to pick Texas Tech, but I'm nervous because I don't know what I'm going to get at quarterback. Am I going to get Tyler Shaw? Do I want to pick Tyler Shaw? Absolutely not. No, I don't. I think Kansas is going to be a little inflated for what they did to Oklahoma State. And, last week was just a weird Oklahoma State week where Spencer Sanders was hush-hush the whole week, last second ruled out, and just seems like everything was discombobulated from the start. I'm going to go Tech here. Don't like it.
Yeah, no, I think it all, for me, my entire opinion on Kansas completely changes with Jalen Daniels in play. They're a totally different ball team. They're not bad without him. Like, the Bean Man can still make games interesting, but they're not good. I think Kansas with Jalen Daniels is legitimately kind of good. And, I know Tech is different on the road in Lubbock, but, I'm not feeling them that much. Even though they had that really hot start at TCU, TCU's letting everybody do that to them. So ultimately, I just think that weird quarterback situation they got going on, it's just I don't like it. I don't like the vibes in Tech anymore. I'm completely off the Tech vibe train. Give me KU. I think they're a solid play here on the road plus 350. Ty?
Yeah, I like the Jayhawks in this one as well. One thing that does worry me is I am worried that there is that storyline about Daniels coming back. But when I look at their schedule, I don't necessarily know if I buy into. I think he's a big factor, but I don't necessarily know if I buy into sort of his presence or not being the deciding factor. Because look at who they were playing when he was there versus who they lost to without him. You can make the argument about like games like the OU game or something maybe going the other way. But I like the Jayhawks. I'm cautiously optimistic is what I'm saying. I don't think Tech really is stringing together anything super notable.
All right, another Island Boy play here. This time Jameson chilling on the Raiders. Moving on, we have this time, the Kansas State Wildcats traveling to Waco to take on the Baylor Bears. We're favored by 2.5. Ty, as we saw last week, Baylor is not dead yet. They still look pretty good. Getting the points here. I don't know. These two teams feel like two teams going in the opposite directions right now. Do you think they continue to rise while K-State falls?
I really have no idea because I feel like I don't know. I feel like I've gotten Kansas State wrong a lot, but I feel like just so much of what Baylor did against OU was an anomaly and just won't be repeated again. We did that entire episode earlier in the week. If you haven't listened to it and you're listening to this, I would recommend going back and listening to us breaking down sort of what happened against Baylor. But one of the key things was they had that dude Squirrel that, like we talked about, had like a quarter of his career rushing yards ever in 4 years of playing college football against OU. He's not a good, high yardage guy. And then we just weren't touching him. So I don't know. I don't know if they're going to be able to replicate that because I think that Kansas State's going to be able to look at the film and Kansas State's going to be able to put together maybe a more competent defense when it comes to shutting that down. And I think if they can shut down, Squirrel and then the rest of their offense, I think they have a pretty good chance in it. But at the same time, like we've talked about, Kansas State, are we sort of relying on some wins that maybe shouldn't be valued too much? So I'm really taking a shot in the dark here. I have no idea what you guys are going to go, but I'm going to go Kansas State plus 2.5.
Okay. This is a very tricky one for me. I've obviously been on K-State quite a bit all season. Last week was a disappointment. Just ignore the final score. That game was not really that close. Texas was up 31-10 at one point. It was all Longhorns all the way until a rally occurred, which, it's Sarkisian. He gives up at halftime, and you just have to hold on for dear life if you're Texas. But I don't know. At the same time, I don't think that was K-State's best performance. Looking at that Baylor game, I'm with you. It feels a little fluky. I feel like people are overvaluing the Bears here based off of that OU win, and it's not really a good OU team all the way around. Like, they exploited that one thing. I don't think they can exploit that against K-State. I like the Wildcats on the road here to bounce back, get a win. So K-State plus 2.5 is my play. But I'm not confident with it. I would stay. This is a big stay away, I feel like.
This is a big game for Bobby and his Kansas State timeline and what he's predicting in the preseason. This is a really, really big game. I commend you. Put your chips in, Bobby, and get a little confident about it, because it just hedging it right now. You already got so much on the line. Might as well put everything in. You're saying I'm not feeling confident about it. Put all your chips in. Say I feel very confident about it, because
I'm not going to lie to the people.
K-State's making the Big 12 championship. Yeah. Okay.
For the record, I had them third. For the record, I had them third, which they still look very good to be third. Exactly.
Honestly, that's right. I'm gonna go Baylor here. I think Baylor game last week could have been a little bit crazier on the run game against Oklahoma, because a lot of the team had flu. Richard Reese went to the locker room, didn't seem like he was doing that well. Hey, they've all got their antibodies now. They're feeling a lot better. Get hydrated throughout the week. And Kansas State, like you said, just seems like they aren't right. I just don't like them with Adrian Martinez as their quarterback as much. And him, crazy to say it, winning the job back over Will Howard just doesn't put a lot of hope into me. I'm going to pick Baylor here.
Okay. Blake, who do you got?
Jameson said it perfectly. I don't know how you go to Martinez when Will Howard was playing that good. And Will Howard, although Martinez is a way better runner, at least Will Howard unlocks the passing game to make him kind of a two-dimensional team. Under Adrian Martinez, you're just going to get... I just feel like you could sell out, pack the box. You know they're going to run it. And even on pass plays, Adrian Martinez is looking to run it before he's going to pass it. You know exactly what his thought process is, which makes them super one-dimensional. I think that Baylor, although they really haven't played anybody, and their defense not being good really worries me this year, I just think we could see a similar game plan where Texas kind of ran it down K-State's throat. Baylor can do the same, and although Texas, I think, has the better running back, I think we could see a similar result where they just get out in front early. Night game, going to be a blackout. I think the crowd's going to be rocking, so give me Baylor.
Okay, all right. So, split decision on that one. Moving on to our next game, the TCU Horned Frogs.
Yeah.
Number 4 in the college football playoff rankings, which, honestly, Blake, don't matter because, honestly, the ESPN sheep are pumping the Frogs now.
They aren't. See, they try to do that, but then the whole rhetoric around it last night was, oh yeah, if the Frogs go 13-0, then they're in. It's like, you're already just setting up, if we lose one time, say if we lost this game by a narrow margin, then beat Texas in the Big 12 championship, they won't put us in because of all of this rhetoric of, TCU has to go 13-0, which sucks because it's if OU lost on the road by 1 point and then eventually lost to the Big 12 championship, they'd be in for sure. It's it's truly the most brand recognition thing you've ever seen, because TCU's honestly had a great schedule this year, fought hard, won some good games. I know not pretty, but winning good games. So,
well, Blake, they have been behind before. But anyways, TCU on the road, heading to Austin to face the Horns, who are favored by 7. Little weird, little funky. Oh, and not only that, but they're facing their good old pal Gary Patterson, the man who has a statue on campus, who Blake mercilessly and brutally rallied to get fired last year. The videos are still up on YouTube. Is he about to get his revenge on the Frogs and Boat Blake at their time of need? We're about to find out. Blake, you kick us off here. TCU plus 7, I'm guessing.
Yep, TCU plus 7. I'm not worried about the Gary Patterson factor. I don't care if he knows every single one of these guys individually, all their tendencies. The one thing that was Gary Patterson's kryptonite was Sonny Dykes, and Sonny Dykes' offense at SMU ripped us apart in the 2 times we played him. I've been saying all week, I want Gary Patterson in that room with the defense, trying to teach them everything this week, because that will lead us to more success. I think the Sonny Dykes offense poses a lot of threats to Gary's kind of not blitz heavy, but he likes to send a lot of people. We can create things in space with our fast receivers, with Darius Davis, and the only thing you have to worry about when it comes to TCU is just Bijan Robinson. If you could stop the run, sell it out, make Quinn Ewers beat you, I like that better just because of how much Bijan has been tearing through people lately. They've really established the run. Sark kind of got out of his own head and is just like, we have the best running back, or second, or however, but we have one of the best running backs in America. Just run it with him. It'll set up the pass. They've been smart like that. 7 points, I think, is just way too much for a Texas team that will quit at points. I wouldn't be surprised if it was 28-7 at halftime, Texas leading, and TCU comes storming back. So the Frogs have shown they're never out of any game. So give me the Frogs.
Fair enough. Jameson, who do you like here?
What's Quentin Johnston's actual injury, Blake?
We don't know. He's just tweaked his ankle. So
That's
he's
what I thought it
probably going
was,
to
because
play.
no
We
one's
don't
saying
know
anything.
Yeah, we know he tweaked his ankle. He's probably like 90% sure he's going to play. Don't know how effective he's going to be.
Yeah, it seemed like he was really out of the game when we were watching it last week, and it
He
just
was.
really is concerning for me.
But I truly believe that he kind of tweaked it on that first play or two, and then we realized with our receiving core we probably could have beaten Tech, and we shouldn't send him out there just to get hurt anymore. Like, rest him. Like, he was walking fine on the sidelines, and people saw him after the game. He's not walking with a hobble or anything like that. It's just keep him safe because his presence in our offense makes or breaks it. Like, we kind of saw it against Tech a little bit until we finally hit our stride, but against a team like Texas, he makes a huge difference.
Yeah, I don't know. It just spooks me. I mean, if it's a tiny little tweak of an ankle, you can play through that. But I mean, it takes, about a week to get back to your normal. And I'm just worried that he's just not going to be 100%. Like you said, their offense just seemed like it could have been a little bit better. If it weren't for some of those fourth down stops, TCU's game would have been a little bit closer. I understand things came down to the end and whatnot, and TCU took the game over in the second half. I just think Texas might run away with this one. And I'm going to pick Texas. And as an aside, did y'all see what the 1 through 4 rankings spell per logos with Georgia, Ohio State, TCU, and Michigan? That's pretty funny.
It's beautiful. I love it. Man, I don't want to do this, but I have to. I'm going to go with Texas -7. Mainly because of this. So a lot of this TCU run has been built on really good performances at the Carter, at TCU's home field, and then winning gritty games on the road where they start off poorly but figure it out. With the exception of SMU, I think. Colorado, not great at half, figured it out, got a win. SMU kind of allowed them to come back in the game, but got the win. At Kansas, that was a dogfight. At West Virginia, that was a dogfight. What's the theme with all those teams? They're not that good. Now they're running into Texas.
You were just all over on Kansas saying how good they were, and now you're like,
well, Daniels was for that Kansas game.
Bean played better than Daniels that game. Okay, he was slinging tutties.
I was watching OU get like pancaked 48-0 at that moment, so didn't really pay attention to college football that closely that week. But my thing is, okay, I'll put it this way. All those teams are not as good as Texas. I think Texas, talent-wise, motivation-wise, they haven't won the Big 12 since 2009. People are like, oh, they don't have anything to play for. That is something to play for. Momentum's on their side with recruiting, and a really big win here, I think, would really help things for that program. I personally think that the Frogs just put themselves in a hole that they just frankly can't dig themselves out of on the road. I think Texas just is a little bit too good here, and snips the Frogs' miracle run in the bud before they can really get to the end. Now, I think we get a rematch of this in the Big 12 championship, and at that point, you never know what's going to happen. But now, this time in Austin, I like Texas. Ty?
Yeah, so I've been taking some notes as you guys have been talking, and one thing that Blake said, I guess Bobby, you'd sort of posed the question with the Gary Patterson Is he going to be a factor? Is he going to get his revenge? And then Blake not worrying about it. I kind of agree with Blake on that one. Even if Gary Patterson knows these guys inside and out, he was doing what? Getting 4 lost seasons as his ceiling with these guys that he supposedly knew so well. And if he does know the guys so well, and it's the same people that have stayed and they're now undefeated, then I'm not worried about what Gary Patterson may or may not know about him. I mean, very famously, what was the bowl game a couple years ago where they had Gary Patterson not in the booth, but doing like a commentating thing on, and he just could tell every single play that OU was going to run based on the setup and was accurate to almost everything, but he still couldn't beat him. So it's like he knows what's going to occur, but then he doesn't know what to do about it. And so I'm kind of with Blake on that one. I don't think Gary Patterson is going to be a big factor. I think one thing that is going to be a big factor is I think this game matters a lot to TCU. I mean, it's just as the weeks go by, the games get more and more and more important. But this one being the biggest brand in state, I think this one is going to matter a ton to TCU. I'm sure there are a ton of storylines on this TCU team of guys that were maybe recruited by Texas or not recruited by Texas, or people, knowing people that went to Texas. I mean, it's mostly a Texas squad, like pretty much every team in the region.
Johnson was a former Texas commit, so that's another
so there's a ton of those. But Jameson, pretty famously on the podcast talks about some of these rivalries mattering, or some of these games mattering a lot to the players, just like they matter to you when you get that sort of arguments in the school hallway or in the locker room or whatever else. Hey, you only committed to TCU, like you must not be that good because so-and-so is going to Texas, stuff like that. And TCU's trying to build their brand. I mean, they're pushing that whole DFW Big 12 team. They're trying to get more fans, just sort of regional fans, and they're trying to really establish themselves as the Texas Big 12 brand, not just for Dallas-Fort Worth, but for Texas as a whole. I think this one matters a whole lot to TCU, and then beating Texas means a whole lot to them and has a big brand recognition. Does Texas have huge potential to win this one? I think absolutely. But I think a 7-point line is just disrespectful to this Frog team that we've seen be able to keep it scrappy. I could very well see TCU losing this one, but I don't think it's going to be by more than a touchdown if it occurs. I mean, we've seen the scrappy Frogs all the time, and there have been some games that could have gone either way, and I think that's how this one is probably going to play out. If TCU doesn't run away with it, I think this one probably plays out to a game that's coming down to the final minutes. You don't know who's going to win, and I think it could be a game that's won by a field goal or something like that. So I like TCU +7 in this one. I think it's pretty easy. I don't dislike anything that you guys have said about picking Texas. I just feel like Texas -7 is a lot. I could have seen this one being a 4.5 or more realistically a 3.5. But I mean, I'm the worst one at picking on the pod, so I don't know if I'm necessarily the great odds maker. But speaking of that, TCU is also 8-1 against the spread, I believe. Texas is 6-3. So I don't know. I like the Frogs. Give me the Frogs +7.
Can I mulligan here? Because I kind of think TCU, like what Ty said about that being too many points, kind of resonated with me, because it is a lot of points. Because I don't think Texas blows them out. When I really think about it, I
have you mulliganed yet?
I have not mulliganed.
I don't think so. I think there's high push potential too, but I just
this feels pushy. This feels very pushy. Because I don't know. I'm mulliganing. I like TCU here.
Half mulligan and do the Jameson.
It feels
so you're gonna pick TCU, but I'm calling the push thing.
I'm gonna pick TCU, but I'm calling the push. I think it's gonna be closer than 7. I think it's gonna be a battle. But and not only that, it's freaking Texas, man. I can't do that. But Blake, are you going to this one? Go ahead.
I'm on the opposite side of you in so many of these, Bobby. You could take a really big push towards me.
I could. Are you not going to this one, Blake?
I am not. My family's coming in the next morning, and it's a night game, so logistically, probably not, and not feeling too well. So
fair enough.
I will be watching this one alone in the dark on my couch, which is probably the most preferable way to watch it after you saw me last week. I'm not the most fun person to watch a TCU game with.
What are you talking about? You're hilarious to watch a game with.
That was one of my favorite games watching.
It's more of like me just being frustrated, and then like the best feeling I can get is relief. It's not even like happiness. It's more just relief at this point. And so I'm gonna feel
Oh no.
and so that's why like
Blake is dealing with the experience of being an OU fan now. Oh no.
but yes and no, because like we have no margin. Like y'all have some margin whenever you're doing well that you can lose a game and be fine. We don't. Like
Do you
we
think
have
we're fine when we lose games though? Like
or no, I'm not saying you're fine, but like this ends our college football playoff hopes if we lose this, even by one.
what the hell?
I can't even read that.
The juice. Oh, that's hilarious. I haven't seen that one time. That's funny. Oh man, but this is going to be a big one. I'm really
Yeah.
excited to
And it
to
is.
watch.
It's
Well, I can't watch this one. I'm going to Turnpike, but I would be
the
excited to watch this.
the stress of this game. I will say this, a hot take, but it might be the most stressful game of any of the four of us, college football wise, in a very, very long time. I know, you've had really significant games. I would go back to maybe the Rose Bowl. That game was like, especially with that OU team, but like we don't have the same margins as
We
y'all.
played in 2
can't lose.
playoff games since then,
We
Blake.
can't lose, yeah, but y'all were the 4 seed. We probably knew you were gonna get trampled going in. Like that LSU year, like that was the easiest one to see coming. But it's just like we don't have. And the thing is, Bobby, y'all can repeat those results. Y'all can be back in the playoff. We don't get those opportunities. We will not be back in the playoff, especially maybe the 12 team is like the 11th seed, and then we're just gifted Alabama on the other side. But we don't have an opportunity like this probably ever in our history. That is so much more pressure. This is not repeatable. And so
Fair
I'm having
enough.
to live and die by these last 3 games. It's gonna be really embarrassing if Iowa State beats us. That one's gonna really sting.
That would be the fun. That would be the second funniest result to Cactus Gang beating y'all last week.
Yeah,
I do.
Oh, good.
Oh, I was just gonna say I didn't mean to interrupt the monologue, but I did want to point out, Bobby, to sort of make you feel better about your mulligan, and then to the listeners. But what Blake is saying right now, like how much this matters to him, I think that is very much reflected across the team and the rest of the fan base. I mean, this game matters a massive amount to TCU. Like I don't think Blake is on his own with TCU fans and his belief that this is the most important game that they've had all year up to this point.
Not only that, but it would be an absolute banger of a post game video if TCU won this one. That weird, like, I don't know, the weird ayahuasca
Wings and
edits.
frogs.
This does mean a lot to Texas too, because they're tied with K-State. And
Stop that!
So.
No,
So
everybody keeps on
Texas
saying it
controls the
means a
destiny.
lot to Texas. It does. Like Josh Pate came on and said Texas has the motivational edge here, and I'm like,
No.
what are you talking?
Well, they don't have the
about?
motivational edge, but I'm saying
No.
it's not like it's like nothing splat.
Oh
for
no,
Texas.
they're gonna get up, and like looking at Texas's home games in the last few years, like this is probably the most anticipated one. A top form team, besides Alabama, I guess, but it looked like it's
And
not
LSU.
like that. Oh, LSU, God, I forget they actually get good games. Never mind, I'm gonna retract that take. One of the more important conference games, how about that they've had in a
That's
long
fair.
time.
I think that's very fair. They don't get a ton of good conference games, so because usually at that point they're pretty ass. So with the non-conference ones, they still have a chance at being good. So, anyways, all right, let's move on to the game of the week that everyone's excited about.
Woo!
The Oklahoma Sooners on the road to take on the West Virginia Mountaineers. Sooners favored by 7.5. They have never lost in Morgantown, which is not jinx. But Blake, you've been fading OU all season long. Good reason. You fading them again?
No, I don't feel confident about this pick at all. Just because.
Wait,
weird
also
things
this is Ty's pick. Ty, you go.
Oh,
Yeah, it's okay. As they say, never interrupt someone when they're shooting themselves in the foot. I don't know this saying. There's some sort of saying about just let people. Anyways, we did a whole podcast on this one, but earlier in the week, I have already pitched it earlier in the episode, but I would encourage anyone to go back and listen. Well, not a whole podcast, but the end of the earlier podcast this week, we sort of break down what we are expecting from this game and some of the factors, the travel, the weather, the time zone difference, all the important things. that get you when you're going to play in West Virginia, which is a tougher place to play than Death Valley, Louisiana. You heard it here first. Everyone agreed with me on the podcast when I said it. But yeah, I have OU minus 7.5 in this one. Really, the only thing to highlight here is our wonderful sponsors at DraftKings providing us this wonderful, wonderful line. I think that OU is going to be able to recover here against the West Virginia team that should be a team that we can be competitive against. So I'm actually pretty happy with 7.5. I don't think it's a layup, but I think that it is very attainable for OU. So give me OU minus 7.5. Key is going to be no crazy turnovers, or hopefully just less than 3. And I think we have it.
Yeah, West Virginia is not a good team, I think. And OU clearly isn't really all that great either, but they're better than West Virginia, I think. If OU keeps it maintained on offense, doesn't turn it over, I think they have more than enough on defense to slow West Virginia down and have a good offensive performance to get the win on the road, stay undefeated in Morgantown, and get out of there with a big win on country roads. So OU minus 7's to play. Jameson?
Oh, man, I wish it was minus 7. 7.5 just really messes with me. I kind of talked about some keys to this game, like Ty kind of push, but here's kind of my thinking about it. We're playing another one-dimensional type of offense here. Their rushing attack, West Virginia, is just non-existent. They lose their leading rusher for the rest of the season. And JT Daniels, it's a lot on his shoulders. Whenever there's a lot on his shoulders, he tends to make mistakes. Problem is, I just don't see us getting pressure to him to where he can make those mistakes. It scares me so much. I really need to see some blitz schemes. I need to see more things from the linebackers getting pressure, and hopefully our defensive back crew, performing. I think this is screw it. I picked Oklahoma the whole year. I'm just going to go with my heart, even though my head's telling me West Virginia. Screw it.
Okay, fair. Blake, who do you like?
My AirPods cut out, and I cannot hear a word y'all are saying. So, there we go.
Good.
Oh, it might have cut in. There we go. It cut in at the final hour. But yeah, I'm going to.
This is a hedge.
No, this one's easy. I think West Virginia is really not that good. I think West Virginia's home field atmosphere pretty good, but like Jameson said, they're gutted at running back. That was kind of their identity all year long. That was keeping them close into games. And now I think they're on to their second, third string guy now. Like, they're really desperate for somebody in the backfield. And JT Daniels, I'm stunned how bad he is. Like, at Georgia, he looked good. At USC, he looked good. But he's just bad at West Virginia. He, misses blatant open throws. Like, he's just not accurate. Doesn't, not awe-inspiring whatsoever. I gotta go OU here. At least I know, OU played a good Baylor game. They've been beating up on these bad teams. It's just they've kind of struggled with the middle to the top of the pack this year. But I think West Virginia doesn't pose a threat to them. Give me the Sooners.
All right, that's a sweep for the Sooners. Now let's move on to not the wild card pick, but instead the random generator pick. So what we've done is we've done a number of 1, 2, literally all the games on the slate. Overall, we're going to generate it out per person, starting with Blake. And whatever game gets drawn, that's where we're going to go. So, all right, Jameson, you do the honors. Hit that generate button for us. Who are we going to get for Blake? 5.
Number 5. So let's go down and check. So we're starting with the Thursday games. 1, 2. And then the
you're kidding me.
You're kidding me.
That's so boring.
UNLV playing at home versus Fresno State. Blake gets completely random.
He gets home cooking.
All right, Blake.
Blake,
what would you like to choose here?
Yep, I don't care if it's Jake Hayner. I don't care. Give me UNLV, the Run Rebs, at home with the slot machine. This is the easiest pick ever. Thank God, a team that I actually watch, a team that I actually love.
You always pick them.
Yes, I love them. They're such a fun and interesting team. I think their head coach, really good offensive mind. I like the Rebs this week. I love them. Easy.
By-
This is the easiest pick on the board.
By the way, Blake, one of the bowl projections had had OU UNLV in the first responder bowl in Dallas.
Yes.
I know you'd
would
be all
actually
over
go
that.
to that. I would go to that.
You would suffer
100%.
through Gerald Ford Stadium again to go to that.
Yes, I would, with my UNLV sweatshirt on, and I would be very happy.
We would have
my
to
God.
we would have to do a schooner pod trip for that game for sure.
I
if that happened.
cannot believe random out of 59 and you get UNLV. Oh my God.
1 in 59
All right.
chance and you get UNLV, of course. All right,
All
Ty.
All right, let's
Well, it should
Wait,
be
it's me
Jameson.
now.
It
It's
should be
Jameson.
the
Here,
order
hang on.
got weird. The
There we
order
go.
got weird.
I
Yeah, there we
fixed
go.
it.
all right.
Yeah.
All right, let's
Brady
do
punched
it. And I'm number 3. Are you
Three-
kidding
what?
me? Are you kidding me? You're
It's the
gonna make me
worst
pick
random number generator.
East Carolina versus Cincinnati. Oh, okay. I just talked bad about Cincinnati, but East Carolina has been such a hot and cold team this year. Cincinnati being at home, 5.5. There was a part in okay, let me backtrack. Obviously, I'm hedging with my UCF pick from earlier, but there was a part in that game where Cincinnati had it, and it was just that last second drive. Screw it. Cincy minus 5.5. I just don't know what I'm going to get out of the East Carolina team. They're so hot and cold. At least Cincinnati has a little bit of consistency to them.
Isn't ECU like undefeated against teams going to the Big 12? Like, haven't they been trolling the Big 12 on social media
Oh,
about
I'm going to
beating?
look that up.
Yeah,
They-
like
no,
even
they
BYU.
They beat UCF, they beat BYU, they play Cincy, and then they play Houston the week after. And they've been trolling the Big 12, saying like you added the wrong team and stuff. ECU has only been an upset team. They
Yeah,
almost
they
did it
beat-
against
they-
NC State, and then
UCF by 21, and then the next week they beat BYU by 3, like at BYU. And now they're on a
Yeah.
bye, and then they get the Friday night versus Cincy. Yeah, I guess they're playing a lot better, but it's just, I don't know. Losing to Navy really spooked me. That at home, I remember that was a game that we had our eyeballs on. It just didn't make any sense to me. I maybe they're turning the corner. I just don't have enough. And just screw it, Cincy, whatever.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, Jameson, let's go back to the generator. Hit me. See what we got. 7.
dude, James
7. This is ridiculous. It's
You
the
just
random
read-
generator.
What is going
Yes,
on?
get,
look,
like-
it says minimum 1, a max 59. And
I'm
it's
gonna
just
get
giving us
like
these tiny ones.
58.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Notre Dame Navy.
No, that was my wild card.
Oh,
Oh no, not Notre Dame Navy. Never mind.
Notre Dame Navy.
Discounted.
All right. 15.5 here for Notre Dame. Ah, man. Navy is weird. Navy is weird, but I don't know if they're that weird. Give me the Fighting Irish, I guess. I don't.
The
this
juice
is
are on Navy here. It looks like minus
Yee.
115.
I don't know.
You took Notre Dame.
I don't like. Well, no. Juice is on Notre Dame. What are you talking about?
No, the juice is on Navy.
So you have to
minus
bet extra
115 on
money
Navy.
to bet Navy. You can take a lesser amount, minus 105, to get Notre Dame at 15.5.
Okay, I mixed it up then.
Semantics.
I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. But I think Notre Dame
This
figures
is
it
part
out.
of the game.
Oh, this is so
Wow.
gross. This is so gross. So gross.
All right, Ty. What are the odds that we continue to keep things like this where it's low numbers?
No, I guarantee. So I'm either gonna get just straight up 1, or it's gonna be like 58 because it's done
All right.
a bunch under 10. Let's see.
All right, let's see it. 13. We're
13.
slowly moving
I
up.
like it.
Ugh.
I
So
like it.
7 was Notre Dame, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Purdue, Illinois. Yay!
Yes, this is an amazing one. Actually, give me Pete. Yeah, give me.
Oh
Pete.
God!
Whoa! What?
I'm on the Pete train. I'm on the Pete train.
Ooh.
Oh my god! Was not seeing
I love
that
it.
coming.
I'm happy about it. You guys are
Wow.
gonna see. You guys are gonna see.
Purdue minus 6.5.
Wow.
Okay.
a
Well,
play.
that was quite
me
a
Pete.
fun one. Even I'm just gonna out of curiosity, 51 on the one where it doesn't matter. So obviously, there's just no reason to think that it was rigged. What would be 51? Let's go check that just out of curiosity. So saying 59 games. So not counting those. So those are next week. So 59, 58, 57, 56, 55, 54, 53. Great podcasting. 52, 51 Coastal and Southern Miss.
Ooh, the tasty matchup.
Actually, is
well, if anyone wants to use that for their wild card, great transition, Bobby. That was fun. That was fun, even though it was all at the beginning. But we get some Friday games to give us something to do.
Yeah, I would absolutely do that again. We might have to look into doing that more in the future. I thought that was really fun. So good stuff. I like that. Just a little pilot situation for maybe a different season of this. But anyways, it's time for our favorite pick of the week.
Why aren't the brakes working?
Because I cut the brakes! Wild card, bitches!
Yeah, really, the last one was the wildest of wild cards. But anyways, I digress. Ty, who's your wild card of the week?
This one is so easy. It was almost spoiled by the random thing generator, but give me, and it's not necessarily a pick of confidence because you can rewind the tapes and see that I've been sort of negative towards this team, sort of turn my opinion around, but I have been for 2 years straight down on one certain team within the SEC that some other people on this podcast have sort of jumped on the train and jumped on the hype for. And that is, of course, Little Southern Red Missouri, aka Arkansas. I have no idea. It's like free money. It's like they're hiding it from you. They're expecting you not to see it. How in the world is LSU minus 3.5 against Arkansas?
We're
How?
at 3 this morning. 3 this
we were
morning.
we were at 3 this morning.
I was like,
it's already
ooh.
shifted. Yeah. I chose it as my wild card when I saw it at 3, but the way we do it on the pod is we go to DraftKings, their sports book, as we're picking on Wednesday nights and pick with it. So I'm now up to 3.5, but I still love that. I mean, it's like anything under 7. I really don't. I understand they're going to Arkansas. Maybe people are expecting some sort of hangover from their win, but LSU I think is got tremendous confidence, and I like a tree fitty line against an Arkansas team that I personally have no faith in. I mean, LSU is currently in the running for a conference championship berth, and they are firing on all cylinders right now. I love what Brian Kelly has done, sort of turning them around later on in the season. And I think the moment that I kind of jumped on, this sounds like extremely bandwagony, but I think the moment that I kind of jumped on actually believing in LSU was last week when they were in that overtime situation. They scored the touchdown, and just right away, first overtime, they had the ball second. Bama had scored a touchdown, kicked the extra point, and Brian Kelly's like, no, we're going for 2. We're going to decide this game right here, right now. And they did it. And I love the confidence in doing that just for like the swagger and the entertainment value. But I love the vote of confidence in his players and in his guys, and knowing the plays to call and the ways to employ the talent that he has. It's not even the best talent he's going to get there. So I think maybe Brian Kelly maybe made the right decision moving to LSU. I love what they did last week, and I love this 3.5. I mean, we'll see. Obviously, with some of those, we'll see. But 3.5 against Arkansas, heck yeah! Give me
the 3. The 3 was my
Tigers.
pick this morning too. I was like 3 points to a team that just lost to Liberty, and they were getting worked early in the game versus Liberty.
As soon as I saw it, I was like, there must be some sort of like eligibility issue, like LSU's entire starters are like trapped in customs somewhere or something. Like, why is this like this? But yeah, no, who knows? maybe I'm going to get burned on this one, but yeah.
So I'm going to go with that weird wild card that got pulled. I really like Coastal -5 here. I liked them last week. I felt bad about having to throw my boys Joseph under the bus, but it came true. Vegas keeps kind of fading Coastal Carolina here. Southern Miss ain't that good. They're 5-4. They have their moments. They beat Tulane, but also lost to Georgia State 42-14 at home last week, and they just feel off to me. Southern Miss just does not play very well against the really, really good opponents on their schedule so far in conference. So because of that, I'm going to go with the Coastal Carolina Chanticleers, the Chickens, to get the 5-point win and the cover. So give
the
me
Schooner
Coastal.
Pod is also on Team Fade Brett Favre as well. So
yes, we are on team. We are on team. Don't embezzle money out of. Well, it wasn't embezzling. It was just don't steal money from poor people. That's pretty bad. Pretty bad.
Yeah, it seems like the more and more we learn about him, the more sketchy he is. But another topic for another day.
I don't think that's a hot
pick my
political
wild card
take,
last. It is not. It is not. But here's my thing. I've been picking last in the wild card for a while. I was going to pick Ty's pick with LSU, and I had a backup. And so no pot agreed for me because Ty picked the LSU pick, and I don't like picking the same pick as other people. So my other one is in the SEC, and I think Tennessee gets a bounce back playing at home versus Missouri, 20-point line. I understand there's a lot of hype around Missouri being a scrappy team. They're keeping things close. You know, everyone talks about the Georgia game, like, oh, they held Kentucky close, but Kentucky isn't that good like we've been talking about this whole season. Tennessee at home has been potent. 20 points, I think, is not enough. I'm going to go Tennessee here.
All right. Blake, who do you got?
I want to get off this week. It's easy. San Jose State minus 2.5 versus San Diego State. I want the UNLV cover. I want the San Jose State cover. I want that double Mountain West action. This is so easy. Cordero, Hawaii's quarterback that then goes to San Jose State, who has honestly been pretty dang good this year. They lost to Auburn, which is an SEC team, then lost to Jake Haener in Fresno State, at Fresno State, which is a hard place to play in the Mountain West. I do not like San Diego State whatsoever. Their team sucks. I think, they're just really not that good.
You've never brought that up before.
UNLV gave them a great test last week, and San Jose State's going to put the finisher on them. I think I want to see a situation. I have not checked what the Devil schools I will check their schedule. I know they have 5 wins, so how do we not get them to a bowl game? Let's see if we have any roadblocks.
Oh man, they're not New Mexico.
Oh no. Okay. San Jose State and Air Force definitely pose challenges. New Mexico might be an issue. They have a pretty good defense, but they're like Iowa State.
Dude, that team lost to New Mexico State. I don't even want to hear it. That's the problem.
And so they have no offense that can drive anything. The road starts here to not let San Diego State make a bowl game. Give me San Jose State.
All right. Double dipping with the Mountain West. I love to see it. All right. That's the slate. Thought it was pretty good. Loved our new little addition there. Everyone feeling pretty good about things.
This is one of the worst slates I feel like I've picked in a long time. Things just do not seem right at all. I hated so many of these lines.
It was gross. It was a gross slate, but you do what you can. So
yeah, the best I felt about one pick is one where we went 50-50 on it, where half us picked Baylor and the other half picked Kansas State. That's saying something. If I felt the best about that Baylor pick.
Yeah, because it wasn't even it is a pretty tricky line, but yeah,
I don't know. Gifted. At least I got gifted. I got gifted in the wild card and random.
That sucks. That sucks.
I got the freaking most disgusting random game. That Notre Dame minus 15.5. I hate that. I hate it.
I think this is my 5th time taking UNLV this year. So
you've been loving the Rebs, man. So.
And have I lost one? But
I think surely you lost one.
I think I've lost one, but
yeah. Anyways, all right, folks, that was the weekend spread. Thank y'all so much for listening and following along with our picks. This episode, as always, presented by DraftKings Sportsbook. So, thank y'all so much for sponsoring us. Use promo code DPP, please. I'm not too low to beg. I'm not too low to beg, guys. Please use the promo code. Please. Anyways, that wasn't pathetic at all. Anyways, for me, Jameson, Ty, and Boat Blake, this has been the weekend spread presented by the Schooner Pod. We'll see you next time, and good luck out there.